James Cameron's Avatar was an instant box office smash when it hit theaters in 2009. The movie scored big with both audiences and critics, doing especially well with audiences and critics who'd never seen any other movies or TV shows before. Because for everyone else, when they showed up to watch Avatar, what they saw was a film redoing better stories they'd already seen in other places. The Avatar franchise's tendency towards intellectual piracy has only accelerated as the series has expanded into sequels that have themselves found new ways to rent ideas. So the next time you see a newborn TikToker breathlessly praising Avatar's originality, point them to this video. Avatar: The Last Airbender is a critically acclaimed Nickelodeon animated series which ran from 2005 to 2008. Set in a world divided into 4 nations, Water Tribes, Earth Kingdom, Fire Nation, and Air Nomads, the story follows Aang, the last surviving airbender, and the Avatar, a unique being who can bend all 4 elements. If some of that sounds familiar, it's because not only has James Cameron jacked the name Avatar for his movie franchise, he's begun borrowing the beloved animated epic's cultural structure for his sequels. Now, much like the people of The Last Airbender's world, the Na'vi are divided up into tribes based on their mastery of different natural elements. The first Avatar movie featured Na'vi who were masters of the forest and earth. The second focused on a water tribe. The third Avatar introduces a fire tribe and an air tribe. Cameron just needs to make Jake Sully the master of all 4 elements, and his Last Airbender ripoff will be complete. Halo is the groundbreaking video game series pioneered on the first Xbox in 2001, and one of the most popular things humans have ever played on their couch. Unfortunately, it's never been adapted into a live-action series at all, especially not a really terrible streaming series on Paramount+. The Halo video games have little in common with Avatar structurally or thematically. That's not what James Cameron took from it. Instead, Avatar mirrors the style of its futuristic technology. Halo's human designs are angular, armored, and grounded with a heavy industrial look. Function always comes before form. Weapons are ballistic, and everything feels like an extension of modern military tech, advanced by a few centuries. Avatar's human tech is nearly identical in functionality and style, with similar edges and designs. Halo has the Pelican, Avatar has the Samson. Similar-looking vehicles with identical purposes. Halo has the Warthog, Avatar has similar-looking ground buggies. Both franchises have piloted mech suits with similar looks and functions. Both universes show humanity as relying on brute force technology, steel, firepower, and machinery that feels cold and invasive, especially in contrast to the organic spiritual worlds they try to control, Pandora in Avatar and alien ring worlds in Halo. So they're similar, but it's actually not entirely clear who inspired who. Halo was released years before Avatar, yes, but Halo's creators have admitted they were in part inspired by the aesthetic of James Cameron's Aliens from the 1980s. Is it possible to rip off yourself? Avatar takes a fairly common theme used in stories and movies, an outsider being accepted and eventually joining a native tribe, and, well, does all the things everyone else has already done with this idea. These are some of the best examples of other tales which found more original ways to use the going native concept, and that Avatar seems to borrow heavily from. The John Carter of Mars series, written by Edgar Rice Burroughs, began with A Princess of Mars in 1912. It follows John Carter, a Confederate soldier mysteriously transported to Mars, known as Barsoom. There, he gains superhuman strength due to the planet's gravity and becomes a key figure in battles between the planet's many distinct cultures. These include the noble red Martians, the brutal green Tharks, the religious white Martians, known as Therns, and the secretive black Martians, known as the Firstborn. Each race has its own cities, beliefs, and technologies, creating a rich, divided world of conflict and alliances. Cameron's Avatar films echo Burroughs' structure. Both stories center on a human outsider who becomes a powerful figure among disparate native peoples, gains enhanced physical abilities, and fights to unite divided factions against imperialist threats. To be fair, Disney tried to copy the success of Avatar with its movie version of John Carter in 2012. That failed probably because it was like a snake trying to eat its own tail. FernGully, The Last Rainforest is a 1992 animated film set in an Australian rainforest where fairies live in harmony with nature. Yes, if you've seen Avatar, then you already know where this is going. The story follows Krista, a curious fairy who meets Zach, a human logging worker accidentally shrunk to fairy size. Together, they confront Hexus, a dark, pollution-based spirit unleashed by deforestation. The film focuses heavily on environmental themes, portraying nature as magical and interconnected, and warning against industrial destruction. James Cameron's Avatar shares clear thematic and visual parallels with FernGully. Both feature lush, living forests threatened by human greed, with a protagonist from the human world who comes to understand and fight for the natural world. In both stories, nature is depicted as sacred and spiritually connected, with a strong ecological message. Zach's journey from destroyer to protector mirrors Jake Sully's arc on Pandora, making FernGully identical to Avatar in tone, message, and even character types. Dances with Wolves is a 1990 film directed by and starring Kevin Costner. Set during the American Civil War, it follows Union soldier John Dunbar, who is assigned to a remote outpost in the frontier. There, he gradually befriends the Lakota Sioux people, learns their language and customs, and becomes fully integrated into their community. He eventually adopts their way of life and stands with them against the encroaching U.S. military. James Cameron's Avatar closely mirrors this story structure. Jake Sully, a soldier turned outsider, is sent to Pandora but grows close to the Na'vi, learning their ways and ultimately joining them against his own people. Like Dunbar, Jake sheds his old identity and becomes part of the very culture he was meant to help suppress. Both stories portray a white protagonist becoming a bridge and a defender between two worlds. Battle for Terra is a 2007 animated sci-fi film set on the peaceful planet Terra, inhabited by alien beings who live in harmony with nature.
Very well.
When human survivors from a destroyed Earth arrive seeking a new home, they attempt to colonize Terra and terraform it, an act that would destroy the native ecosystem. The story follows Mala, a young Terrian, and Jim, a human pilot. After Mala saves Jim, they form an unlikely bond and work together to prevent the war between their peoples. A lush alien world threatened by human colonization? Check. A native protagonist who bonds with a human soldier? Check. Humans are seen as invaders willing to destroy entire ecosystems for survival? Check. It's all in Avatar. Pocahontas is a 1995 Disney animated film based loosely on the real-life encounter between Native American woman Pocahontas and English settler John Smith during the colonization of Jamestown. The film tells the story of Pocahontas, the daughter of a Powhatan chief who seeks peace and understanding between her people and the arriving English settlers. Through her relationship with Smith, she tries to bridge two cultures, challenging fear, greed, and violence with empathy, wisdom, and a deep connection to nature. Jake Sully, like John Smith, comes from a colonizing force, but falls in love with Neytiri, the daughter of a tribal leader. Neytiri, like Pocahontas, teaches him the value of her people's connection to the land. Both films center on a human outsider who grows to respect an indigenous culture and chooses to stand with them against his own people's exploitation and aggression. The Last Samurai, starring Tom Cruise, tells the story of Nathan Algren, an American military advisor hired to train Japan's Imperial Army in modern warfare. Captured in battle by a group of traditionalist samurai resisting westernization, Algren is taken to their remote village, where he slowly learns their way of life, embraces their code, Bushido, and ultimately joins their cause against Japan's new industrial army. Avatar mirrors this arc closely. Jake Sully, like Algren, begins as a soldier sent to aid in conquest, but becomes immersed in a native culture. Both protagonists are captured or stranded, grow to respect the people they were meant to help subjugate, and ultimately fight alongside them. The Na'vi, like the samurai, represent a spiritual, nature-connected way of life being erased by modern industrial power. Both films critique colonization and glorify resistance through assimilation and loyalty to indigenous values. For his part, James Cameron insists Avatar is wholly original and denies borrowing ideas from other sources. And since he made Terminator 2, most people just pretend to believe him. Terminator 2 is just that good. Wondered why we ended this list at 8 when you've thought of a dozen of other media properties Avatar cribs ideas from? We had to stop somewhere. James Cameron's ability to take ideas is infinite, but the bandwidth we have available to upload large file sizes on YouTube isn't. We stuck with the most notable, let's say, homages for this video, but if you're overflowing with additions, feel free to let us know about all of James Cameron's other stolen ideas in the comments. And if you'd like to see more video lists like this, do all the YouTube stuff to support the channel. Until next time, this has been Giant Freakin' Robot.